Hey everybody, Sawyer the VHS Hunter here, and I've got with my first retro review. This is going to be for Patriot Games, 1992 action thriller that is based off of the Jack Ryan Tom Clancy series. I didn't know that until after I watched the movie though, but it is based on that. And this was the first time watch for me. I watched it just a couple days ago on the VHS format, which is going to be the format that I watch most of my retro reviews on, and I gotta say, I'm very mixed on this movie. Very mixed on this movie. Like I said, I didn't really realize it was a Jack Ryan movie till after the fact, and I never really watched anything with Jack Ryan in it. I know it's a character. I know it's a book series, a pretty beloved book series from what I hear, and I know they have a couple different movies over the years there with different actors playing the character, but that doesn't really change anything for me. It's still just basically a espionage kind of political action thriller. That deals a lot with the IRA, Irish, you know terrorist organization, exactly whatever exactly they are. And Harrison Ford basically plays a former CIA analyst, which so this is basically like after the fact because in the series he's actively an analyst. So this is kind of like going a little bit farther into his history, I guess. And he has to go. He gets pulled back into it after he, accidentally, interrupts a terrorist attack while he's on vacation. He just kind of springs into action and saves somebody. But during the firefight, he kills one of the IRA operatives, which the older brother of that operative, played by Sean Bean, it becomes the main villain of the movie. He escapes prison, and he basically dedicates his existence to taking out Harrison Ford's character Jack Ryan and his family, and he doesn't even care about his group's motive or his country's agenda anymore. It's all about personal. It just becomes very personal for him, and he's even endangering his group's beliefs in order to try to kill Harrison Ford. And that stuff is great. Like that all that action stuff, all the cat and mouse stuff is great. There's really good action in the beginning of this movie, like during the shootout and stuff. And there's a lot of intensity whenever Sean Bean, Sean Miller as it's called in the movie, is going after Harrison Ford's daughter and wife. All that stuff's very intense. And then the ending is really intense when they all kind of culminates into a battle at Harrison Ford's house where Sean Bean and his men are trying to raid it and kill them. And basically Harrison Ford and his best friend, which is another like decorated military man, played by Samuel L. Jackson, they have to work together to save the families that are there. That stuff is really good, but it's the middle that just doesn't work for me. It's very boring, bland, and just gets overly espionage, political drama like in the middle. Like the whole middle part is basically like Harrison Ford. It doesn't even really do anything. He's just sitting behind a computer. He's analyzing. He's doing his actual job in the movie. But that stuff is kind of boring. Like I'd rather see him in the field, and everybody wants to see him do. But yeah, there's just all this stuff in the middle that just is kind of boring and doesn't really work for me. There's Sean Bean basically spends a lot of the middle just preparing for battle with his soldiers in the middle of the desert somewhere, and there's this whole story arc with a IRA like allied antique book salesman that gives out information or whatever, and he's being surveyed by the government, and it's just who cares about that stuff? I didn't for sure. But like I said, once it gets back to the last act, it gets really edgy and it's really intense and some pretty good stuff. But it's just that middle part that's really hard to get for me anyway. And also Harrison Ford, he's great. I've always liked him as an actor, but during this time, every movie during the '90s and up, I just feel like when he's doing action, it doesn't really look right. Like I don't know, he's not very believable as old as he looks. In these movies like this one, Air Force One, all these movies, all these '90s action movies that he played in, The Fugitive, Air Force One, stuff like that. He doesn't come off as an action hero in his later days, and I don't know. It's just I find it hard to believe he's as badass as he is in these movies. Especially like in the beginning shootout scene where he's just bum rushing like people that are like 20, 30 years younger than him and taking them out. It's just I don't know. It doesn't look authentic to me. Sean Bean was a great villain. I've been seeing more and more of his movies, especially his '90s movies, and he seems like he's always villains in those, and he does pretty good. I like him in this one. He's just all about revenge. He's pretty one-dimensional for the most part, but he's still fun to watch. Um, it's just fun to see him. It's fun to see him unraveling and just spiraling out of control throughout the movie. All in all, I think this is a pretty good watch. This was it was a fun. I don't regret watching this. It was a perfectly fine first time watch. If I had to give it a score, I'd probably give it about a 3 out of 5, just because in the middle was just so boring. But the other stuff really makes up for it.